What is fintech? I think it's sometimes useful to think of, where do we start? Do you start with the fin or the tech? Many times, if you think about existing technologies as they apply to financial services, whether it's the mobile phone now that you used to pay, perhaps that's fintech. But what about, as we're seeing these days, completely new technologies that didn't even exist before? Perhaps Bitcoin, as an example of a completely novel technology that can be applied to financial services. So that's the whole universe of fintech, and that's what I'm happy to talk to you a little bit about today. As we think about the future, I think though it's always very important to think about where we started and why, and how these things continue to evolve. So for example, when you think about a bank, or if you Google the word bank, what's the image that comes up? It's usually of like a Greco-Roman temple or something like that. But when's the last time you went into a bank that looked like a Greco-Roman temple? When's the last time you went to a bank? Right? Versus just using your phone. So you can say, well, there's this huge transformation from Greco-Roman temples to everything that we're seeing here on the right stage. But I would also argue for us as investors, sometimes the best technologies, the best innovations are those that actually harken to something that's a basic need, right? So if you can think about Facebook improved communication, right? The basic thing, you want to talk to people, you want to meet people. Uber helps you move. Airbnb gives you shelter. And if we think about financial technologies and the importance of finance, the importance of banking, it's to make money or to protect it, right? To manage your risk. Chicago is known as the risk capital of the world. Certainly what the CME does is we help people manage their risks. If you're a corn trader or you're hedging oil, you're trying to understand changes in price movements in the future and protect that and why. So yes, we're out there trying to invest in the future of fintech, but I would argue, right, that what CME does is a very basic human thing. And it's not just us. We've been here since 1848. But does anyone know when the first futures market opened? Or where it opened? Japan. In the 1600s, actually, it was rice futures. So you think about everything that we're doing today in futures and options and fintech, but this is, I would argue again, a basic human need to want to be able to protect and manage your risk, provide for your families, protect your capital. So from humble origins, you might say, from Japan in 1697 to this. Does anyone recognize this statue? It is Ceres, right? Ceres, and she's sitting on the top of the Board of Trade, which is one of the CME Group's buildings. What do you notice about her face? She doesn't have one. She doesn't have one. Because when this building was built in Chicago, originally they thought there would be no other building that's taller. Right? So you think about the evolution of finance over time and how things continue to grow, and you can become humbled because things continue to change. Right? What is this? We were just talking about this. This used to be upstairs. What's really funny is across the hallway here is something called the Innovation Lab, and I encourage you guys to take a peek because that's where here at the CME we across divisions we go in and we work on problems together. It just looks like any startup. That used to be the members' lounge. Right? That's where after you traded, you went drinking over there, and now it's an innovation lab where we're thinking about again the future of fintech. So what that used to be kind of transformed into this. This is UBS's trading floor, right? But I think what's interesting now, and you see from kind of like this chaos to this organization made possible by technology. If you actually go here today, most of this is shuttered for a number of the reasons that Walt was speaking about, whether it's the increase in regulations, the pretty banal trading environment we've had so far. You're not seeing as much trading today. Also because of this, right? You don't need all that hardware. You don't need all that stuff. We're becoming increasingly mobile. So as we think about the future, do we think this is going to stay forever? No, of course not. How many people downloaded Pokemon Go in the past week? How many downloaded it 2 weeks ago? It didn't exist, right? We're moving so fast. This is known as Bitcoin, or a representation of it. So as we think about the future of fintech, this is definitely one thing that we see. That evolution from pit trading to electronic trading to digital trading. And we believe, digital currencies or digital assets could be very much a new asset class for us as we consider the products for the future. For those who are not as familiar with Bitcoin or blockchain, for me, the biggest and best example of why something like this is so important and revolutionary was actually an anecdote that the Wall Street Journal wrote about. There was a person in New York, and he was watching a newscast of these protesters in the Ukraine. And so he's sitting in New York watching this newscast, and he sees that one of the protesters has a sign with the B with the 2 lines going through it, and a QR code. So this guy, this was a few years ago, but this means he got it. He himself was a Bitcoin enthusiast. He recognized that that protester in Ukraine had a Bitcoin wallet. So what he did is in New York, he freeze-framed the TV. He took out his own phone with his wallet and QR code and zapped Bitcoin through the television. And there, the person in the Ukraine received money, right, to go on to finance whatever he needed to finance for his revolution. That's Bitcoin, that's digital currency. And just think about the implications of what that could mean. Rather, it's just sending email for information, now you're sending something for money. And then where do we go? Because it's not going to stop. It's never going to stop. We are also increasingly seeing even beyond digital assets. Think about the computers. Think about the hardware or the software, the algorithms that we use to transact, to access capital markets. Increasingly, we are seeing artificial intelligence being used in financial services marketplace. It's funny, just yesterday in London, one of our portfolio companies called Spark Cognition was talking about work that they're doing in this regard. And it even freaked me out, and I like live in this stuff all the time. But basically, what he was saying is, if you're a trader, if you're a really good trader, you have a feel for the market, and where does that feel come from? Right? Well, it comes from a lot of experience. You've seen patterns before, you've been there before, you have that knowledge. You're also able to process the people around you, what they're saying, how they're saying it. And then you have your own instinct and intuition, and then it makes you a good trader. We're at a stage today now, right, where computers have access to far more historical data and historical analysis than we can hold in our heads. And they're making such advancements in natural language processing. I mean, you know this, you talk to Siri or you talk to Echo or whatever. We're going to such a point where computers are getting to feel the market now, right? So he's talking about creating the feeling computer, really what they call the neural network, where it's not about machines learning. It's not about a machine that become a better machine. It's about a machine that's becoming a better brain, and how that can be applied to the financial markets. This won't go away, though, this issue of security. And it's been in a lot of the news with the iPhone hacking, for example, the thing between the federal government and Apple, everything related to hacking, and advanced security systems. You can imagine with all the data, with all the money, and so on and so forth, this is going to be as important as it ever's been. And it's not just about hacking, and encryption technologies, but user behavior analytics and insider threats, and all of you guys. And when you start working in a company, and they'll be able to monitor your behavior and see whether you pose a security risk or not, those will increasingly be monitored by computers. So where do we go? We're finding it out. So CME Ventures is a wholly owned subsidiary of the CME Group. We are making investments in these 3 areas, in what we call digitization, the next generation of big data, and then advanced security systems, because we feel that these are the 3 things that not only keep us up at night because we're scared, but keep us up at night because we're excited. And we're investing in a number of emerging technology companies. So what this really means is like venture capital, like Shark Tank, right? Where we're taking very minority stakes so that we can gain early insights into the future of fintech. We don't have to wait until something costs $200 million or more to be able to buy it, but be able to have early options and insights into the future possibilities of financial services. And a lot of this stuff may sound, wow, like where is this gonna go? But I take you back to the beginning of this talk again. There is a basic, good human reason why we're here and we're working in the financial services industry. And I think there is a tremendous service that we all do. And it's wonderful to see so many of you interested in our markets and being in our marketplaces because of the great importance that this has always had and will continue to have going forward. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And thanks for coming to see me.